Okay, so before we even get into the podcast, this is just something that we do together, and this is not going to be on the podcast itself, but just to kind of ground us and ground our energy and be in a space of just what this is all about. And so I invite you, if you'd like to, close your eyes and just feel your feet firmly planted on the floor. Take a deep breath. And when we think about our introduction and this invocation of this work, I start off by just offering a sense of gratitude for this blessed day, that we are so grateful to be alive and to be seeking the truth that reveals itself in the eyes of this wonderful beholder today, as we come together and express love and service and compassion in action. We feel everybody has something special to share in this world. And we're so grateful for Lonnell to be with us today, to share his story and the sparks that inspired his actions in creating ripple effects, actualizing love in this world. Let us be inspired by his story and let it be a light for us for causes that matter deeply to us and to our world. Today, we are going to value progress over perfection. We know that we're guided and protected on this journey of service, and we love our human family. For the sake of our precious short lives, may we be leaders who care. May we be leaders who act mindfully for the greater good of generations to come. And may we listen intently without the need to fill space with sound, seek to understand rather than postulate how to interject. So far, all of our masters and teachers and ancestors and guides, please allow us to learn the lessons of living from our hearts and allowing the ripple effect of goodness, inspiration, hope, and courage to flow from our words into the positive actions that support our families, communities, and this beautiful world we've been gifted to occupy. We hear your call to express beauty in this world. And so now let's get ready to see beauty through the eyes of this amazing beholder, Lonnell Graham. So as you ground and root, if there is anything as an invocation, a blessing that you comes to your mind, this is an offering for you to offer that. Otherwise, when you're ready, just give us thumbs up. Right on. Jess, I'll hand it over to you.
That was beautiful. That was awesome. Wow, I really needed that.
It's a way to ground.
I feel so much better. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to read the bio. Lonnell, is it Lonnell? What should I pronounce? Is it?
It's Lonnell.
Lonnell Graham.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you got it.
Got it. Because sometimes I emphasize different parts of words and it makes it sound different. So, okay, so perfect. So I'll do that. And then we'll just move into questions. And so I'm gonna kind of do the first little bit. I'll pass it to Christina and then I'll kind of finish it off. Okay.
And then we'll end it with the collective questions. So we'll be back and forth.
Yep. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get the bio up here. Okay.
As Jess is pulling that up too, I just wanted to offer, when we were looking at key themes, a couple came out: getting involved, putting yourself out there, and just getting started. So I'm just going to kind of bring those into some key thematic bases. And then when we get into your storytelling, it'll be fun to kind of hone into those a little bit deeper.
Sure.
Okay. All right, welcome to episode 3 of Realize. We are so excited today to have Lonnell Graham with us. I'm going to go ahead and just dive right in to his bio so we can get to chatting with him sooner. So Lonnell grew up in the Midwest. He was born in St. Louis and spent most of his childhood and young years in Kansas City. After graduating from Rockhurst University, he and his college sweetheart moved to San Jose, California, where there he got married, earned a living as an insurance broker, and started a family. After feeling unfulfilled in the corporate sector, he became a stay-at-home dad to his 2 children. He also discovered yoga and a new purpose in his life. Lonnell was a paraprofessional and substitute teacher in Kansas City and San Jose school districts and has always felt a calling towards being a civil servant. His dedication to the youth and teaching inspired his new career as a yoga instructor. Now living in Houston, Texas, he can be found teaching yoga at various gyms and studios and is an active member in his community. Welcome, Lonnell.
All right. Thank you very much for having me, ladies.
So excited. So I want to dive right in. You know, one of the things that you mentioned when we first met that really fascinated me was the intersection between public service, education, and activism in your life. So can you tell us and the listeners a little bit about how education has played a role in your life? What does it mean to you? And share with us about that.
Well, from a very young age, my mother always instilled in myself and my brother and sister to get your education, get a college degree. She was from a family where she was the only one of 5 brothers and sisters to graduate high school and also go on to graduate college. So she immediately saw the benefit in that. And just growing up with her and that foundation, it just stuck. And it was something that I knew that it wasn't it it wasn't one of those things where you get to decide if you go on to do it. It just had to be done. Um, and she did that with all 3 of us. And you know, having that education and being coming from a mother who has seen the other side of not having an education, seeing that, she knew exactly what her plan was for us. I've always been a huge proponent of education. Um, going, excuse me, um, going through high school, I didn't really get it, but then once I got to college, it was like, oh, okay, this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it wasn't so much about you learning the text, it's about you being able to adapt and being able to put yourself in a situation where you can succeed and knowing how to study. And then that just kept on going, because even after college, it was still, hey, what are you going to do next? And so after college, it was, okay, I guess I'm going to grad school because I feel like that's what's supposed to happen. I did a year in grad school, and and trying to mix that with a professional career didn't work out the way that I wanted to, but it was still something that kept coming back. Even when I went on to get my certification in yoga. You know, it's just about never stop learning. That was the key. You always have to be pushing forward, always have to be making yourself better. And
Well,
education.
it sounds like you've got a lot of inner fire, right, to keep motivating you. But were there any influencers or supporters or mentors along the way that also supported that inner fire, that really stood out to you? Because it sounds like, you know, from it just once it clicked, you're like, okay, I'm on. But when you think about influencers, what comes to mind?
I did have a mentor when I was in high school. He became a really big part of my life. Um, his name is Sean Thompson, and he was a teacher in the Kansas City public school district, and he was a friend of my mom, and he turned out to be much more than that. He turned out to be another father figure for me. My parents were divorced, So I stayed in constant contact with my dad, but he lived in St. Louis, and Sean just became just a sounding board for me, someone that I didn't have to worry about him judging me. I could just say what I wanted to say, and just be me. And he would kind of push me in certain directions. Um, he was he was special. He really was.
Mm.
He was one of those people, and not everybody. I think people get one or two people in their lives that kind of affect them in this way, but um, I found out after he passed at an early age, I found out that he was that guy for a lot of people.
Mm.
I mean, his going to his funeral, I didn't realize that the impact that I got from him was being shared by thousands of people.
Wow.
And it was an eye-opening thing, but he was one of those people that, um, I can talk about those things that you can't talk about, the subjects you can't talk about with your parents, and I can trust
You always
him
need someone
to,
like that. Yeah.
right. And he
Absolutely.
always gave me good advice. And he just showed me how to be a man. Um,
What a legacy he left with
yeah,
having so
yes,
many, gathered at his, celebration of life. And perhaps that sparked something in you. Because I remember, another thing that really stood out to me about what you said was you had this moment in your life where you kind of felt, I want to make an impact even greater than what I'm making right now. And we want to explore what it takes from that feeling to taking action. And we call it the spark. And so I'm going to pass the torch to Christina, because we want to explore is it the mentor? Is it the internal drive, the fire? Is it the influences of our childhood? Or is it that feeling of like, I need to do this? And so we want to explore that moment, the spark that made you take that next step. So Christina?
Well, so I think this is exactly, Lonnell, like kind of taking us from past influences to what you are up to today in the here and now. So you are a stay-at-home dad, you're a substitute teacher, you teach yoga all the way across Texas. You just actually ran for a position with regards to the school board. So what we're seeing is this spark in you to like get involved. And I'm curious, what is it for you that compels you to want to get involved more versus just talking about it or thinking about it would be great? You're in it.
well, so I think the biggest impact, the thing that really changed everything for me, was I did a mission trip to Rwanda,
Mm.
and there were friends of mine that had adopted children, from Rwanda a few years prior, and they were going back because they wanted to find out if they could help other orphans that were there.
Mm.
So back in 2013, I had quit my job, and and I had a dream job kind of slip through my hands, and I was struggling to get back on track. And these friends of mine, they called me up, and it was, I mean, if you want to talk about a higher power,
Yeah, sounds like divine
it's this,
intervention.
yeah, it's this higher power that's just kind of guiding me. And I feel like I've always been able to pick up on these hints and these
Mm.
clues. And so when they asked if I wanted to go to Africa to do a mission trip, I thought about it for maybe a day, and I just said, yes, I'm in. So one of the things that we had to
Awesome.
do, for this mission trip, is we were going to this orphanage, in Kigali, and we had to bring something to share.
Ah.
And I I I'd been selling insurance, so I can't really teach them how to sell things. But I recently started practicing yoga. So I've been practicing for about a year, and I know a little bit, but I couldn't teach a whole class, but I figured I would teach what I know because I just saw the benefits in it. I saw the healing benefits. I saw the mental, the physical.
Yeah.
It just all kind of, like I said, there's a power is leading me, right? So
Fantastic.
we 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 went there, and it was for about a week and a half. I wasn't certified in yoga or anything, but I wanted to teach these kids a few poses and teach them a little bit about what
Great.
I've learned so far. So as we land in Kigali, at the time, you had to, any visitors to that city had to take a tour of the Kigali Genocide Memorial.
Mm,
And this museum, it would make the toughest man cry.
mm,
Um, After the museum, we had a few days to kind of bond with the children, and then it came time for me to give my part
mm.
to the orphanage.
Yeah.
And previous, we've been in like smaller groups, and so we meet with a group of kids here, and then we meet with a group of kids there. And on this day, for whatever reason, the entire orphanage was there.
Of course.
So
Another divine intervention
Right.
thing.
right, we start, and I'm staring at just 100 children, and just wide-eyed, and they have these smiles on their faces, and they're waiting for it.
Oh,
And I
so
just
sweet.
start, and we're having fun. I've got music in the background. We're laughing, we're playing, and everybody's having a good time. And I remember there, I went into, I started to teach them Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3.
Uh-huh.
And
Mm.
as I went into it, I kind of glanced up, and I saw all those children just, they're in the pose and they're in the moment. And right then and there, I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
Mm,
It's the weirdest feeling. So we
love
come back
that.
to the States that very same week. I start looking, scouring the internet, trying to find a place to do my certification, and that's when I came and found the Breathe Together family, and
Yeah.
I started working on the certification right then and there, and it changed everything.
That's
I had a new
incredible.
perspective on life, on children, on myself.
Sure.
And so that was just a game changer for me.
Sounds
And
like it. An amazing spark. Well, when we
yeah,
talk about the spark too, it's so much about where we see love and service coming together. And so that sounds to me like what you've just described is your heart was ready to just open wide. And then how is it that I'm able to serve? How can I give? And then I'm sure that you had so much that you felt you returned or you received in return. Is that right? Like what would be the gifts that you think come to mind in terms of why you
well,
show up?
for me, um, I get kind of it's kind of a high for when I can help someone.
Yeah.
Um, when I can inspire a little bit of laughter, a little bit of joy in somebody, that fills my cup, and
Nice.
that's all I really need to kind of keep going. And I feel like it's kind of contagious. Like as soon as I feel that, and then it starts to spread to other people, I feel like they want to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Forward activity. Mm.
yeah, it just keeps me going, and and I look for that in almost everything that I do. It's like
That's
I, I've had this role. I'm a middle child, so I was always the
Say no
peacekeeper,
more. We know you. All
right?
you little children out there, all my sisters, we always talk about birth order. It's
yeah.
fascinating.
Right.
So I hate to cut you off, but birth order
It's
is
fascinating. Yeah, yeah.
It is. I feel like it's been my job since day one.
Yep.
the mediator.
Maker, negotiator, yeah,
Right.
mediator for sure.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
because this is what we're looking at, when you think about you know, and this is with this podcast, oftentimes when we're looking at our guests, people, they do what they do because they feel like that's what they want to do. They're not thinking of it as any positive ripple effect and how am I an influence on others. And I know you've talked a little bit about like the impact that you want to make, but it's coming from a place of like humility and servanthood. That's what I know about you. And so when I think about that and what warms your heart, you talk about seeing people with joy and happiness and maybe in that whole learning mode. When you really are looking at that at a bigger scale, what is it that you see as the potential?
Ooh,
The big
well,
ripple and how it
yeah.
is just, we talked about
Um,
the spark, so now,
so this this may sound a little weird, but I wish that more people could kind of see the world through my eyes. Um, so when I was in San Jose, I was able to start a youth yoga program at my children's school.
mm,
And it began really simple with mindful moments and practicing poses with my daughter's kindergarten class. And it evolved into yoga for the teachers there.
mm,
And also I started teaching to several other classes. And the impact of that finally hit me one day when I came onto campus and I saw two classes practicing yoga and breathing techniques on the playground. And it was without any prompting or aid from me.
mm,
It was just starting to happen. And that type of thing, it just didn't happen before I was there. And I know that there were other yoga instructors that had children at our school,
yeah,
but for me, I felt like why wouldn't we bring this into the school?
yeah,
And so you start to see you start to see these ripples, right?
yes.
And it's starting to get bigger. And so then when I ran for uh, Tomball ISD Board of Trustees, you know, people would say, "Oh, wow, you're running for the board. That's amazing. You're really brave." And I thought, you know, I don't really know what that means.
You said
um,
civil servanthood is no, it's no stranger to you based on your
yeah,
upbringing. And yeah, it feels like it's almost in your DNA.
yeah,
Would you say? Yeah.
it really is. It really is. And in both of those situations, I didn't feel like it was this game changing thing. It was just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And
I love that call to action
I,
that you have. I
yeah,
love it.
it's, I feel like when I decided to become active and vocal, people felt empowered to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a normal guy. I I don't think that I'm any better or any less than anyone. But I also feel like this is a natural human desire to be helpful and to be kind
Yeah.
and happy. And sometimes we need a little bit of direction.
Yes.
But making mindful and thoughtful decisions is contagious. And
Mm,
once we feel that sensation of uplifting another person, it it becomes something that you just, well, at least I can't get enough of.
yeah. I
I
love
think I
that.
think sometimes people, you know, and so true, right? Like the human, we can never underestimate the power of human connection, just the want to help another. Um, and I think, you know, a lot of people have that sentiment, but maybe they're scared or they don't know how, or like, you know, it takes an element of putting yourself out there. So were there any things that you kind of came head to head with personally to push past, you know, gaining more confidence and just being able to start and you know, take forward movement, because maybe it's not in everyone's DNA. Do you have any advice for that person?
Um, You know what? It's not that I'm fearless, because I do really contemplate the decisions that I make, especially when it came for running for the board. It was something that I didn't want negative things to happen to my children and my wife, due to what I might do or say in that whole campaign process. Um, but what's a good way to put this? Um,
Sounds like you almost had a deeper burning desire inside to do it anyway, but to be mindful about your conversations. Is that about
yes,
right?
that's true, but when I'm uh, trying new things, when I'm putting myself out there, um, I think about it for a little while, and then I just stop thinking about it and I just go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've I've done that with a lot of things in my life, and it just works for me. I don't know how it keeps working, um, but
Again, that divine intervention helping you out, right?
yeah, I mean,
Around the
I've
path.
really put myself in some situations that um, that I look back on and I say, oh wow, I shouldn't have dove in head first on that one. But um, I feel like I have a really good support group around me. I've always tried to surround myself with really good friends, people um, that that I look up to, that
Yeah.
I want to elevate and say, wow, if I could be a little bit like that person, then it's going to take me a little bit
Beautiful.
further. So I think that's one of the
Great tip.
biggest things for me. It's
That is
just
a great.
surrounding myself with just an amazing support group.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing is we've talked about what warms your heart and that positive ripple effect. Sometimes there's also something inside that breaks our heart. Something that feels like, you talked about running for the board of trustees. We've just had an election. There's a lot to kind of focus on in our world. And so I'm wondering if you could kind of flip the coin a little bit and thinking about what breaks your heart, but what feels like that catalyst for positive direction in our world from the lens of your eyes.
From where I come from, um, the thing that really breaks my heart and also at the same time inspires me is when I see injustice. So after after seeing George Floyd murdered
Mm-hmm.
on TV, and then not too much longer from that, seeing Jacob Blake shot in the back by police officers, um, it really just triggered me,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a nice cry. I hadn't cried like that in a while, um, and it was crying, it was punching pillows, it was really just getting me fired up.
Yeah.
But the thing is there's a long history of unarmed Black men being assaulted and murdered.
Yeah.
And when I think of people like Medgar Evers, Oscar Grant, Elijah Martin, James Byrd, um, Ahmaud Arbery,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the list is just way too long.
Agreed.
It gives me pause, and it instills a little bit of fear in my heart. Um, I mean, these were people who died just because they were Black.
Mm-hmm.
And that scares me because I know that it could happen to me, but the weird thing is I've kind of accepted that over the years, but it scares the hell out of me when I think about my son and my daughter.
I was going to say you have two children, and I know you're involved in the school as well, your kids' school. So when you think about that, and that, I mean, it's heartbreaking to kind of see that just because of the color of somebody's skin, that they would be that much more vulnerable in society. So what is the future that you see as an optimal state for your children, for the children that you're with? What would you
Um,
like to see?
So it goes back to, this is middle school.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Tough time for everybody. Where are you going?
So it's gonna go completely a different direction than you think. So I was in this group. My brother, he's a year older than me, and so I kind of followed his lead on a lot of things. But there was a Star Trek group in my school, and they had meetings and parties and all kinds of stuff. And so I got into Star Trek, and Star Trek was one of the first times that that I realized that we actually have a chance to coexist without war, without racism. And it was a specific episode. I'm watching it, and I remember it to this day. I'm watching this episode, and two of the casts are in the cafeteria, and I'm looking in the background for some reason. I'm paying attention to the show, but I'm looking in the background, and there's this kind of alien and that kind of alien, and then there's a black person and a white person, and then there's like just all these mixtures of races and ethnicities and aliens and
creatures,
and
gender, culture, all
everything.
right?
And I was like, wow, that looks like a good thing, you know? And it just stuck with me from that early age. And I thought, why can't we be like that? A lot of the places that I've grown up, I've been probably the only Black person. So a lot of my friends in high school went to primarily white high school. Same with college. So I had a lot of white friends, and I kind of saw a different side of life. And then I would go back and see my family, and I was like, why is it so different? We shared a lot of same interests, but it just seemed like some people had so much given to them, and then other people were just kind of kept down. And I've just been fighting against that, I think, for my entire life.
So what I'm hearing is just kind of to where are the opportunities to have more of an equal starting point, to take a look at where privilege can actually support others so that there can be this ability to coexist and not have anything differentiated based on the color of our skin or the gender that we came out with or what have you. It's just really a matter of we're all part of the human family.
Right. And I think that the thing is that mentality, it has to start at those early years. Really does. Like your kindergarten, first grade, let's start talking about it now. So it doesn't become this thing that is whispered about. We can discuss each other's differences. That's really what I would like to see from the future of our country. Educating our children at that early age and letting them know that yes, we're different, but we're a lot of us, we're the same. Just because you have a different view, and just because you call your God one thing and then this person calls their God another thing, you all are sharing this belief in a higher power and about justice and equality. Just call it different things.
Exactly. The
It's
seeds
interesting too, because I listen to, it starts at the youth and starts with our children and all, and I'm not a mom yet. But you don't have to be a mom or a teacher, right, to influence. We all have a neighbor kid on our street, or just some little person in our lives that we can kind of just keep an extra eye out for, just pay closer attention. Because I remember you saying too, Lonnell, like about there was this teacher in San Jose that really inspired you, and she's teaching all sorts of topics to really young children. And it's like, we
That's
need
right.
to not underestimate our youth. Our kids are coming in with new consciousness.
Re-educate, like you were saying, what the Jim Crow laws, and
Right.
really getting into breaking down systemic racism and prejudice and oppression. And you were saying something like the kids look at it like, why would we think any different than everybody being the same, right? Was there truth to that?
Well, yes. So Kate Bill is the best teacher I've ever met. She did so much with these children. So in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, my son was lucky enough to have the same teacher. And so I got firsthand witness of what it's like to be in her classroom, because it was a parent participation classroom. And there were a lot of times that I said, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Like, do they have to learn about Jim Crow laws yet? Jim Crow laws yet? Do they have to learn about LGBTQ? And she broke it down in such a way that it went right along with her lesson plans.
That's amazing.
and it was seamless. And the children realized that that they realized things that a lot of us adults haven't figured out yet. How to
take your class.
just how to accept people for just being another human being. They came up with all these revelations about this, like when we're talking about Jim Crow laws, they couldn't understand why white people could do this and why black people couldn't do this. And I said, well, what does it make a difference? Because they're looking at their friends and it's all different ethnicities in the classroom. And they thought, well, I would want my friend to come play with me. And I wouldn't want my friend to have to go to a different restaurant than me. Yeah. And like, what?
You gotta love teachers that make that accessible, and just that matter of factness that comes through from a child's peer viewpoint. Yeah.
Really.
I know Jess wants to talk with you a little bit about how you keep your fire lit, because that's one thing that when we do start to get into, and there's a wonderful quote that says, struggle is where the magic happens, but we all are going to face struggle, and we have some huge things ahead of us to kind of look at. How do we bring it into this sense of coexistence?
I was thinking about this question. And time is such a weird thing right now. A day feels like a week sometimes, and a week feels like a day. So what is keeping your spark lit today?
So it's changed over time, but right now, the thing that really keeps me going is I can't let my children grow up in the same kind of racial climate that I grew up in. It just can't happen. I've been inspired by this generation because I got to a point, and I heard this. This was part of the music that I used to listen to back in the day. Tupac once said that white people are afraid of young black males because we're strong, we have a lot of fire, and we can do anything. But he says, as we get older, we get into our 30s and our 40s, then that fire starts to extinguish because we've been just broken down over so long. And I felt like that happened to me. I became desensitized to all the racism. And I just thought of it as, this is the way it is, and this is the way it always has been, and this is the way it will be. And this younger generation, they're amazing. They've got so much fire, and they stand up, and they don't really take a lot of crap.
And they make t-shirts and bandanas and apps, and I mean they have both elements, like passion and so many creative skills. I'm always blown away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tools to create
Yeah.
a movement.
Right.
It's
They,
incredible.
they really inspired me to start pushing again and
Nice.
stop just thinking and hoping and wishing for a change. You know, you see all those kids um, after Sandy Hook, all those kids that
Yep.
said, "Hey, you know what? This shouldn't be like this. Let's get up and do something about it." And they
Mhm.
organized, and
Yep. Common
these are
sense done
high
less.
school kids.
Yeah.
In my high school years, I wasn't thinking about uh, social justice, and obviously we didn't have the same issues that they have today as far as, you know, the mass shootings in schools and things like that.
Mm.
You know, we have fire drills. They have shooting drills.
Yeah.
We had tornado
Sad.
drills and things like that. And so they've grown up in a different world, and it's really lit them. And I'm just taking a cue from them, and
Mhm.
I want my children to see that too. Like,
I
don't
love that. What I'm
don't take
hearing
the
you
crap.
say too is here you are called to support children and to take a look at, you know, how can we can create a different future, right? Where we can really do start to kind of break down barriers. And at the same time, you are getting fulfilled and inspired by the youth. And that's one of the amazing things about sometimes when we look at ripple effects, there's this beautiful kind of full circle
Right.
effectiveness that goes on. That's really inspiring.
It really is. It really
Cool.
is. And you know, the children, they never cease to amaze. They they've always got something new for you. Just as soon as you think you've got them all figured out, they're like, "Oh, let's just take a sharp left."
Yep.
Yeah. They're just
So
like the software they use. They're always new downloads, always new versions, right?
It's a
New
good
stuff.
point.
seriously, yeah,
Just what
it's really amazing.
that's so cool. You want to lead us through what Lonnell has going on today, and then we'll finish up with some collective questions.
Yeah. So let us, what's going on for you right now? What are you inspired by? If there's any, I mean, you're so involved, maybe you have suggestions or different ways that people can get involved now. And of course, we can link all of this up in the show notes too.
Yeah. So right now, um, you know, I just finished the campaign. I came up a little bit short. But as I told people all along, this is the campaigns and the elections, that's just the beginning. You know, I feel like I missed an opportunity when Obama was in office to actually start taking apart and looking and trying to make change. And um, you know, our current president, I feel like he did a somewhat of it a justice because he lit everybody's fire. And now there are a lot of people that are out there and moving and doing different things. So right now, I'm staying really involved with the school. I've been able to, just by being in the campaign, it opened up a lot of doors. It let me meet some people that are the decision makers. And so I'm working right now on, there's a committee that's being formed in our school district, a diversity committee.
Nice.
And the only problem is that this committee has been, the formation of it is taking too long.
Oh,
It's one of these things that it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And so I feel like my job right now is to actually make that happen and get this started. The other thing that I am working on is here in our district. Um, I've only been here 2 years, and I've only been at one school, and now we're in junior high now. But um, the thing that I noticed in the 2 years is that Black History Month was like almost non-existent.
mm,
There was like a quote in the Rise and Shine at the beginning of the day for the kids, and you know they give you the same old, you know, the cliches, like who is Martin Luther King, who is Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and then let's talk about slavery a little bit. And so I am trying to develop a better plan for Black History Month going forward in our school and see if I cannot make that something that is on a district level. But I was
Fantastic.
told by the principal of our school last year that if there's anything extra that you want to add that is not in the Texas curriculum, then you have to do it yourself. So I've been organizing a few parents for us to get together. Let's figure out what this is going to look like, and let's get it implemented
I love it.
by February.
Real opportunity.
Right.
If
So
we have any of our listeners that have either ideas or insights or maybe have done something similar, would you be open to them contacting you as a way to
definitely,
connect? Okay, fantastic.
definitely.
That's
Yes, I'm
wonderful.
We'll have
reaching
to,
out to. We have friends that have children in outside of our district, and they have been successful in the program that they instituted. And so I've been reaching out to them, and I
Awesome.
definitely welcome any suggestions, any help, because like I said, I've got to. I think I have to put this thing together from the very beginning, the ground
Yeah.
up.
Well, we want to support you because you
Yeah.
support so many people in your community. And so anything that we can do to kind of facilitate that process would be fantastic.
Awesome.
Great. So what we typically do as we close out is we just have a series of a couple questions. These are questions that we ask of all of our guests just to kind of get a little collective response. So are you game for going through just a few of these as we close out today?
All right. Yeah, it sounds like the hot seat.
Yeah, a little bit of the hot seat action. But the first one's a super easy. So here's your softball. If you could eat dinner and engage in dialogue with anybody, past or present, who would it be?
Ooh, wow. Well, um, wow. So there are, of course, the obvious ones, you know, the Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther King's. But you know what? I recently watched this documentary, and it was on Sam Cooke.
Mm,
And I know Sam's Cooke music, but I didn't know about the man.
mm,
This guy was incredible. He was one of the leaders in the movement back in the day. He was one of the people that got Muhammad Ali together with Malcolm X, with Martin Luther King. He is one of the people that kind of spearheaded those meetings.
yeah,
He transformed uh, he was transforming the music industry so that Black musicians could actually own their own music and take
mm,
it to just such a different level, and
that's a real
and
shift.
killed him. They
Talk about a
killed him.
ripple effect, man. Sam Cooke is there, right? Making
Yeah,
huge changes that really do, sounds like from a legacy perspective, multiple generations will benefit. So what an amazing character to be able to sit down and get to know a little bit better. Yeah.
that'd be amazing.
Here's another one for you. This one is just curious. What are you currently reading or watching these days?
Um, so uh, lots of documentaries lately. Um, One of the things that I've been trying to do, and my my kids are giving me a little bit of pushback on this, is I'm really trying to make them aware of the struggle of Black people over the course of history, because my
Yeah.
children don't know this.
Yes.
They have never experienced it. They don't know what it looks like. Um, you see it in books, but and people tell you about it, but you don't know because they've
Yeah.
never, thank God, they haven't had to live it. But so I've been doing a lot of documentaries lately. The campaign inspired me to watch some different things. So, like I said, um, that story on Sam Cooke. I
Mm,
also watched the documentary on AOC, which is incredible. That lady's amazing.
mm,
Uh,
super
so
inspiring.
it's docs, docs, docs.
Cool. I think your kids, even if they may not enjoy it now, you think about it as planting seeds, right? And so then they'll
Yes.
appreciate it later on.
Yes, yes. I definitely went through, I showed them Remember the Titans. I showed them Pride. I showed them, the things that they can, like Hidden Figures, the things that
Yeah.
are entertaining and not,
And have a
it's
historical,
educational, but
yeah.
it's hidden. They don't know that they're learning.
Oh, I have one, and I think this one because I was really inspired by you and the group of people that put together a Mindfully Just group to really talk about what we could do from the different positions we have in society to support, being able to look at oppression and microaggressions and racism. And I remember the quote from Cornel West that says that justice is what love looks like in public, at what tenderness feels like in private. Love that quote. What does that quote say to you? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Um, when when I when I think of justice in general, I feel like it's something that has escaped Black people for my entire life. Um, it's wow.
Mm.
It's it's a possibility. It's a dream right now.
Mm.
Um, it's it's that thing that um like like myself and my mom and my grandparents, they never thought that they would see a Black president. They definitely didn't think that they would see a female Black vice president.
Mm-hmm.
um I think justice is one of those things. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime. I'm not confident that I'll see it, but hopefully my children, they grow up and they go, wow, I never thought it happened, but here it is.
Yeah. And we start the footsteps now,
Yeah.
start it now. Fantastic. The last question I have for you, what are you grateful for today?
Um, you know what? I feel like I'm extremely blessed. Uh, from the stories that I told during Mindfully Just, I've I've had some situations in my life that they could have went the complete opposite way, and maybe I'm not even here right now.
Mm.
For me to be in the position that I'm in, especially during this pandemic, where I'm able to live somewhat comfortably. My kids don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming.
Mm.
I have an amazing wife. Uh, I'm blessed to be in this position, and it's like I can't say this enough. It's it doesn't feel like anything that I've done. I feel like I've been led down
Mm.
this path, and I picked up on the hints and the clues as they came up, and made a lot of the right decisions, and got saved from a lot of the wrong decisions, um, and and a little bit of divine intervention that helped me from some situations that I couldn't help but be
Yeah.
in. So I'm blessed today. I really am. I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for being here with you two. Um, I'm glad that I do have this. I feel like I have more of a sounding board these days,
Yes.
just to let people know that it's Black people aren't what you see in the movies, what you see in the media, and all the negative stereotypes that are out there. those things are present in the world, but it's not all of us.
Yeah.
Really not.
Well, thank you for sharing so much of you and your heart and your compassion. And we just want the world to know more about you and really continue to be inspired by your dedication and the notion that you live by, that, get involved. How do you do that? You just get started. You put one foot in front of the other. And this is just really thought about, just that, you absolutely can. So why wait for somebody else? So
Right.
thank you so much for your
Thank you so
time
much.
and for sharing so much of your story with us. And we want to promote you because you're doing amazing things. So thank you.
All right. You're very welcome. I appreciate being here with you today. Like I said, it's definitely my pleasure to tell my story. And I hope that people get a benefit from it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and it's to be continued. So stay
Yes.
tuned, folks. There's more to come.
That's
Yes.
Put all
right.
the links down below. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Lonnell.
All right. Thank you very much.